welcome to another episode of Insufficient Friends. I'm Kevin. She's Nikki.
Hi.
And Nick, I would ask you how your week was, but
Mhm.
in the fairness to all of our viewers, the episode that you watched last week that came out last week.
Mhm.
Hopefully, you watched it last week. If not, then maybe you're watching these right one after another. We're recording these one right after another. So if you're watching them that way, that's what we're doing.
The listeners are probably like, thank goodness they stopped talking about their week and going on tangents before we even get to the subject. But yeah, we're double recording because next week we are going out of town and doing some fun stuff.
Yeah, we're going.
Um,
Technically we're out of town now, or coming back because this will come out when we're.
oh, and this is released,
Yeah.
yeah.
So technically we're back. You just don't know that yet.
If you listen to the last episode, we figured out teleportation technology. So we are
Yes.
teleported on
Yes.
vacation right
We're
now.
we're that good. Um Man, that would be so nice to just be able to, like, I mean, seriously, think of, like, if you just wanted, like, say you wanted Chicago style pizza for dinner and you're just like, okay, well, let's just teleport to
Mhm.
Chicago and get pizza and come back. Like,
Yeah.
wouldn't that be so nice?
It'd ruin the tourism industry. Or maybe they would
Would
just
it?
adapt.
I think they would adapt. It's money. They'll
Yeah.
figure out a way to adapt, I'm
It
pretty
would
sure.
it would maybe ruin the tourism planning and flight industry or something
It
maybe.
would
I
run the
don't know.
it might
Anyways.
run the flight industry. It would run the hotel industry probably too, because you could just teleport to and from your house.
Yeah, you wouldn't have
You
to
wouldn't have to do a
stay
hotel
unless you wanted to.
unless they made it like all hotels or resorts or something like that. But
Yeah.
I forgot to tell you this when we did the episode last week. Um,
Hmm.
but we have now passed Halloween. It is November the 8th. So and today I'm going to probably piss off a lot of people with this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Today I put up my Christmas decorations.
I
Which,
thought you were gonna say something actually bad, and I was like, "Are you gonna have to censor yourself
no,
when you
no, I'm not gonna have to censor
edit?"
myself. Which my Christmas decorations, I don't know if I can actually do this, if this will work or not. Let's see. Hold on here. Hold on. This is gonna be kind of weird. I don't know if this is gonna work or not. Uh, there. Can you see
Oh, I
that?
see the
That is
lights.
all my Christmas decorations. It's 2 pieces of garland. Like that's it. That's
That's
the total thing. I don't have a
it.
tree or anything, so that is
For anyone
all.
listening to this and not watching, literally Kevin just showed me two pieces of garland
Yeah.
across his TV.
Yeah, they're on the media stand now. Now my camera's all messed up. I shouldn't have done that. That was dumb.
That's funny.
Um.
Love
Anyway, yeah.
it.
So my Christmas decorations consisted of 2 pieces of garland. It took me about, well, I don't know, 10 minutes to put them there. To get them out of the box and put
Hmm.
them where they're supposed to go. So it's not really much. But I like
Yeah,
it and I enjoy it. So that's all that matters. So, but anyway.
I'm glad. Yeah.
Um, this week, from Christmas to the apocalypse,
Hmm.
we're talking about apocalypse this week, which
Yeah,
uh is interesting, I guess.
it is. It
Um,
came about for a couple different reasons. The reason I brought this up as a topic is a Fallout, um, and the show and the game. I love them both.
hmm
Um, and that's nuclear apocalypse, centered. But then also, um, Casey always makes fun of me. My husband always makes fun of me because I'm like, I'm not a prepper, but I'm like a diet prepper. Like I will prepare, like we have backpacks, the dogs have backpacks, and all of our important documents are in a waterproof bag and are safe. So like if there's a tornado, we can grab everything and go and like or hunker down and like we'll
hmm
have,
Okay. Yeah.
like we're prepared.
Yeah.
But I'm not like, and that's just so we make sure the dogs are taken care of, we're taken care of, and we have our passports, marriage certificate, like all the important documents that won't get destroyed
Yeah.
in a
I mean,
tornado or fire or something.
I think that seems
Yeah.
reasonable. Like,
I think so too, but he always makes fun of me. But I'm not like we don't have a bunker where we have like canned foods and we don't have like extra water or
yeah.
anything. So like I which I probably should have, but so I'm not that bad about it. But then I was thinking about like there are I've seen videos on like Instagram and things, and I love watching them. I love watching how people organize their bunkers and
Mm-hmm.
things. It's like almost like closet organization, but for bunkers.
Yeah.
So I love watching things like that. Anyways, but then I also saw this was, and this isn't my fun fact. This is just I saw this and on the New York Post, which it's the New York Post, but 1 in 10 Americans believe that there will be a zombie apocalypse one day. And I was like, that is, it's 1 in 10, but that's still a lot of people that think there's going to be a zombie apocalypse
That's
specifically,
that's
which is
10% of
kind of
people. That's
wild.
10% of people. That's a good
It's a
that's a good
lot.
chunk of people.
Now, I don't know what the survey parameters were and how many people they actually asked. They
Yeah,
could have asked 10 people, but
that's true.
yeah.
I kind of doubt that because that seems like a really low number. Like, I mean, maybe
No, I
100,
was
but
just
yeah,
joking because
no,
I
I get
don't.
that.
It's so
Um,
many people quote like surveys and facts and don't actually know what it is. And I'm now one of those. I
yeah,
don't know where the survey came from. I just saw it and thought, oh, we should do an episode on that.
yeah. So, uh, the word apocalypse. Well, I'm gonna start
Hmm.
because I did we switched it this week. I did like the theories and the types and things, and then
Yeah.
you're doing the more fun stuff. So,
Yeah.
which it's all kind of interesting anyway. But
Yeah.
apocalypse, the definitions is complete and final destruction of the world, as described in the biblical book of Revelations, which people equate to
Mm.
the four horsemen of the apocalypse: conquest, war, famine, and death.
Okay.
Or an event involving destruction or damage to a catastrophic scale. So basically, anything that is to some extent or the other almost going to end all life, or end
Hmm.
all existence on this planet. There's a few different types that seem to come up most commonly. There's 8 different ones that seem to come up most commonly, actually, that
Okay.
I found. And there's other ones that kind of tie into these or whatever, but there's 8 different ones that seem to come up most commonly.
Hmm.
Nuclear apocalypse, which is obviously a
I think those are the
nuclear.
most common that I think of.
That's probably one of the most common ones. That's one of the ones that has been, I would say, most used in television and things like Fallout and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Is
for sure.
nuclear apocalypse, and there's some actual fears with that too.
Hmm.
Uh, during the Cold War, you had the idea of mutually assured destruction, and you still have that idea. People
Yeah.
just don't think it's really going to happen anymore.
Hmm.
That
Until someone develops the next new atomic technology or
yeah.
something. But yeah.
So you have that, um, and that's kind of a normal, like, that makes sense. We have nuclear.
Yeah.
We have
Oh,
enough.
I mean, I know it's still normal and still something the government thinks about, at least because I was telling you this before the episode. One of the things I'm going to post on Instagram this week for us is a FEMA poster that was from just the last couple of years about like what to do in case of a nuclear
Yeah.
explosion. And I saw that and I was like, I'm used to seeing the things from like the 50s and 60s or whenever
Hmm.
where you hear like the kids were hunkering under their desks and there were songs about how to, what to do if the bomb drops.
Yeah.
But then this was like 2018 and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because it is. I mean, the U.S. alone has enough nuclear weapons to annihilate the world. So it's
Yeah.
and Russia has almost as many as us. And then China, I think, is third, and they're pretty far behind with the number of warheads. But still,
Mm.
it's still there's still a lot of countries that have warheads.
Yeah.
Anyway, so next one that is kind of an actual, like, you know theoretical possibility is a pandemic or a disease or plague. We just went through one of those a few years ago.
Yeah.
It wasn't an apocalypse, but it was a pandemic. Um,
Hmm.
Now, most of what I've ever heard from with this is that it would have to be something that was um, fast enough and deadly enough. Because, like, obviously
Hmm.
COVID spread fast enough, but it wasn't deadly enough to to become an
Kill every
apocalyptic.
single
Yeah,
person that it affected.
yeah,
Yeah. It only killed those were usually who were like immunocompromised
yeah.
or, yeah.
Um, so you've got that. You've got natural disasters, which kind of fall under climate change. So you've got, you know,
Mm-hmm.
a massive, you know, a, just a over the top hurricane. I think
Mm-hmm.
well, other ones that fall into this is like uh, if one of the like stratovolcanoes were to go off, like one of the ones that we don't really know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think Mount St. Helens is one of those. Like
Mm.
the last time it went off, it like made the earth dark for 5 years. So it's like, you know,
A long time.
it's
When did it last go off? Was that
a
in like modern history
long
or ancient?
no. I'm pretty sure that was a long time ago.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Um, I'm not sure about the numbers on this. Of course, this is called
Mm-hmm.
insufficient, friends, for a reason. Um, uh, but there's also concerns that like if one of those were to happen, that it it could cause all like multiple of them to go off all at once too,
Yeah.
because it's been so long that something like that has occurred.
Mm.
Um, there was apparently an eruption in 1980 on Mount St. Helens. I don't
Mm.
think
Interesting. Yeah, and those are
so.
like some of these um are human controllable, like the nuclear,
Yeah,
or even to an extent, a pandemic. If we find out the vaccine or cure or whatever fast enough, you have a chance. But if a volcano erupts and it's going to cover that much of the earth, you can't really change that or stop that.
yeah,
Same with like a tsunami or massive hurricane or tornado.
um, yeah. Um, and that's all kind of on that climate change thing and the natural
Hmm.
disasters. Um, the other one that is um, somewhat normalized is an asteroid hitting the earth that's large enough to take
Hmm.
out something, which happened. The dinosaurs
Hmm.
were killed by an asteroid, and that basically
Yeah.
wiped out almost all life on earth.
Hmm.
Now, dinosaurs weren't watching the sky like we do now, so the uh
The dinosaurs had their own NASA.
yeah. um have you seen either Deep Impact or Armageddon? Either one of them?
No, but you know what? I have seen Land Before Time.
Okay. Okay. Well,
That's a level we're on, Kev.
Deep Impact and Armageddon were both based on this, like an asteroid hitting the Earth, and they're both
Okay,
interesting movies, but
interesting.
they're like
Yeah.
apocalyptic, disaster
Hmm.
movies.
I don't
Um,
like apocalyptic movies. They scare me. I guess that's the point, but I
yeah,
don't
that's
like
that's
them.
kind of the point. And the well,
Hmm.
Armageddon's kind of it's a Michael Bay film, so it's kind of just like big and over the top anyway, which is fun. I enjoy it, but
Hmm.
it's not at all factual. Like there ain't no way that any of that. There's been scientists debunk everything in that movie, but it's fun to watch.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we get into the more random type of apocalypse, and those include, and this one maybe not as random, but this is still a little far out there, is the technological failure, like the fact that if everything just failed technologically, that we would be
Hmm.
screwed. Um, I don't, you know, I convey that to like Skynet and Uprising, like the Terminator. But I don't think that's what it's talking about. You're giving
I
me
don't know what that
you're
is.
giving me faces. Yeah, I know. It's just always with movies. It's
I'm
anybody.
thinking like if the Wi-Fi goes out or the power goes out, we put on a candle, but then I guess you have to think about if the power goes out permanently, you have to fully step back in time to homesteading and how do
Yeah,
you filter water, and you get into a lot of
yeah. But
things there for
we've.
sure.
I mean, we have been there before as a people. Like
Yeah, it would
I
just
haven't.
there
You
would definitely
haven't.
be a massive transition period
Yeah.
to go back.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people would die.
Oh, for sure.
Because if you're reversing a lot of technology, you're reversing a lot of other things. But
Yeah, for sure.
apocalypse, I don't know.
It's
Yeah.
it seems though like a big step to make that be an apocalypse because we did live without all this stuff in the
Mm-hmm.
relatively um recent
Yeah, pretty.
past. Like,
Yeah.
you
Mm-hmm.
know, electricity hasn't been around for that long. Like, I mean, electricity in the sense that we use
Yeah.
it today hasn't been around for that long. Um,
Yeah.
the other one, and this, take this with what you will on it, whether or not it's a over the top or not, but is the religious rapture. You know, God sending angels back to Earth and then ending
Oh,
everything.
I was like,
Um,
I don't even know what that means.
uh,
Mhm.
like actually what the Bible says is that I you
Oh,
know
okay. Hmm.
um
Interesting.
so there's that one. And then you also have then you get to the fun ones, which is alien apocalypse, is aliens coming to the planet and taking over. The zombie apocalypse, which is zombies, a virus or something taking over and causing humans to attack each other.
Hmm.
And the other one that I saw that was an apocalypse that I didn't, it kind of twisted it from what I thought because it was humans abandoning Earth. And like,
Oh, like if the Earth were to become like uninhabitable, I guess technically
yeah,
that would be an apocalypse of the
um,
Earth,
yeah,
not of
but
our
it's not
society.
really our society, so I didn't really think of that as being the
Hmm.
same thing. But anyway, zombie and
Yeah.
pandemic, or zombie and alien are the interesting ones to me on this list.
Yeah.
And you looked
Yeah.
in, I mean, the alien apocalypse, if aliens come, I think we're all just done for anyway. Um,
Hmm.
Zombie apocalypse is interesting because you said that a lot of people believe in this, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. Well, the New York Post said 1 in 10 Americans believe in a zombie apocalypse
Yeah,
specifically,
that's a lot.
which, like, did they just watch The Walking Dead and think that that's real life or something? I don't know, but um yeah, it's very interesting. And so I looked up like the best locations to survive
Mm-hmm.
different types of apocalypse, and I only looked up zombie and nuclear
Okay.
were the ones that I looked up because the nuclear was also very similar to the natural disaster
Yeah.
one. Um so this is, I think, some guy writing an article on his blog or something after The Walking Dead, but he has like a map, and he says that North Dakota is the best place, best state to survive a zombie apocalypse. And it's really like the coast, you're out. Some parts of California, Nevada are good. Nevada. I don't
Nevada.
know. I don't know why I said it
Nevada's
like that.
Nevada's how we say it here in Missouri, but I don't think that's. I mean,
Nevada. I've been around that
Nevada
girl
is
too much.
is the state.
Um, and then Missouri was okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but Kansas and Nebraska and Iowa were good, did great. So I think that it's like the St. Louis and Illinois side of Missouri
Is bad.
is not good at
Yeah.
all. But some of the southern, like the Ozarks and then like the Kansas City area were a little bit better.
So I
Um,
have a question.
yeah.
What are we using to determine this? North Dakota. North Dakota, I kind of
So
get because I've always heard that, you know, the zombies. You need to get to a place that's cold because the zombies aren't
yeah.
going to be able to survive because they're not going to have obviously the brains to be able to warm themselves, which is going to cause
Yes.
them to die.
And then the other parameters this guy used was population density. So big
Okay.
cities.
You want to
So
get away from
obviously
big
when you
cities.
go,
Yeah.
yeah, because he's assuming like if it's spreading through blood, bites, deer, like animals carrying it and things, um, the mountainous and then the Midwestern plains fared best. And then the super populated areas are the absolute worst.
Yeah.
And so those were kind of his, you know, parameters were those couple things and why he decided that. But I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Although I don't know that I would necessarily prep for a zombie apocalypse, but I would prep for
No.
maybe like a nuclear
Yeah.
or not nuclear, natural disaster.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
I guess
prepping
they
for a
already
natural
kind of have.
disaster makes sense. Like just having things
Yeah.
like, I mean, I
Mhm.
mean every emergency organization will tell you like, oh, have an emergency kit prepared in case of even a fire
Yeah.
at your home. Just have like, the documents you're going to need, the important medicines that you're going to need in case you have to evacuate for some reason, which is, that can be anything from a fire and a flood to
Hmm.
a nuclear apocalypse, I guess. So, it just
Yeah.
it kind of that kind of all falls into the same thing. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. So that's always interesting. And then the next one I looked at was how the maps differed if we looked at the nuclear um apocalypse.
okay,
So Kansas City and like around Columbia ish specifically did not fare well because of like different military targets. But if you go just a little bit west to the western part of Kansas, and then north to part of northern Nebraska and then the Rocky Mountains, those were some of the best
okay,
for a nuclear apocalypse because there's no military locations or no none that would be big targets, and there's not a lot of civilian targets because I think this map was inferring that nuclear explosions would go after both military and like high
population density.
population
Yeah. So
density.
New York, Kansas City,
Yeah,
St. Louis, any big cities,
yeah,
military targets, obviously. You know,
yeah. So like
Whiteman is
if
one of
if
the
the
Whiteman
government
is what.
said the nukes are about to drop, you need to go south east to the boot heel of Missouri, and I need to go west to towards the Colorado border of Kansas. If the government said the nukes are about to drop.
Okay.
Those were some of the best places, which was very interesting. And then they had some others like rural North Carolina and there were a couple rural areas of Florida, but then the other parts of Florida are very very densely populated. So,
Yeah.
um,
So
and then the
question.
Rocky Mountains.
So question.
Hmm.
You're okay. Government says nukes are going to drop, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Government says nukes are going to drop. You have enough time to maybe get away.
Hmm.
So like if you were to leave now where they expect them to drop, you're going to be on the edge of whether or not you'll survive or not. Like very,
Hmm.
very edge. More than likely, probably not gonna. So let's say 60% you're not gonna survive, 40% you are.
Okay. Hmm.
Do you try to escape, or do you try to drive to where the bomb's gonna hit? Because I think the
Like to
farther.
just kill myself.
No, 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 no. This is what I'm saying. Like I'm dead serious. I'm dead serious. If I if there's no chance of me getting far enough away, like say they're like, okay, the bomb's gonna drop in an hour. That's all the time
Yeah.
you get of it. That's all the lead time you get,
Uh-huh.
and you know that you can't get far enough away in an hour to where you have a good chance of surviving.
Hmm.
My argument is you drive to where the bomb's gonna hit, and then it's instantly over. If I've only got a 10% chance
I
of surviving, I don't know. Like, I mean, I
I
know
don't
that
know.
that's
I
a
feel like I would
crazy.
still. Here's what I would do. I would say, regardless of the percentages,
Hmm.
unless you were saying like you have a week to prepare to go somewhere else, well, then duh, we're gonna,
Yeah.
pack up and go wherever. But if it's like you have an hour, a couple hours, regardless of the percentages, I would say I'm going to
Try.
gather up our backpacks, our dogs, the important stuff, go to my parents, have them do the same, but then we all hunker down, like the entire family, in my parents' basement because it's fully enclosed.
Hmm.
There's no doors to the outside. And we would consolidate resources. And then that way, A, we all die together, or B, we've consolidated resources and we have more, to draw from as we try to wait it out.
Yeah. Okay. That's understandable.
I think that's what I would do.
Okay.
Because I don't think I would really. I definitely want to drive into it.
My thought.
But also, I have Opie to think of. So I'm not driving Opie into a nuclear bomb, but I would hunker down with him and hope for the best.
Yeah. Okay. I
And
mean,
also my husband,
my
but
you
mostly the
know,
dog.
if you're my just thought of it is if you're gonna die from radiation poisoning in a week and a
Hmm.
half after it's done, do you
Yeah.
do you want to do you want to go out that way, or do you want it to just be over? And I think that just being over would be the
You'd want it to just be over. I don't know.
preferred.
I think I would, we would try to hunker down and be with family and hope for the best.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If we
There's nothing
if
wrong
we
with that.
all are in pain, at least we're in pain
There you
together.
go. There's nothing wrong with that. Um, I'm
It's
a
just like life.
I'm
You're always
a
in pain, but at least you're in pain with friends and family.
yeah. I mean, I'm a probably a borderline pessimist. So it's like I get
Hmm.
it. I have a demented mind. I understand that.
Yeah.
Me and my dad have joked
Oh,
about
we
that
all
for
do a little bit. It's just
years.
intrusive thoughts.
It's just
It's just
intrusive
some people let them
thoughts.
out more than
Yeah,
others.
like I'm just saying it on a YouTube channel that anybody in the world can see right now. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
that. Um,
I did have one more. It's not a map. It's just I thought this was really interesting. Realtor.com did rank Kansas City #1 to survive a nuclear apocalypse
can I? Does it say
because,
why?
and
I'm
these
gonna
were
guess.
their.
I'm gonna guess. Can I guess?
Okay, yeah, you guess.
I'm gonna guess it's because I'm gonna guess a couple things. One, that it's
Hmm.
not a huge target because it's not like a huge city, like a big city that you
Hmm.
think of. One, and
Yeah.
two, I'm gonna cite the underground cave system that they have for storing things, which is used for a lot of things.
Yep.
But there is the Kansas City Underground, which is a big, massive cave system under the city. So
Yeah. Yeah, which we'll talk about on our next caves episode. But
yeah,
yeah, so the data that realtor.com pulled, which I just think it's so funny that realtor.com did this.
I mean they've got
Percentages
to.
of
Hey, why wouldn't you? You got preppers that want to buy houses too, so you might as well do
mhm,
this. Like, why not?
yeah. And so they said percentage of listings with a lake, pond, or well, percentage of listings. And it's funny that they just pull these data points from home listings with a safe room or panic room. So apparently, a lot of people in Kansas City have panic rooms,
Interesting.
which actually I know several people that have panic rooms, and we thought about putting one in too. So that I don't know why we are also panicked, but we are. Um, Percentage of listings with a bunker or fallout shelter. So apparently, a lot of people in Kansas City area also actually have dedicated bunkers,
Hmm.
but then also percentage of basements.
Yeah.
Um, Percentage of listings with solar panels.
Okay.
Interesting.
Makes sense.
Population density. Percentage of active military and federal government employees. So apparently we were still possibly a target, but lower on the list of military targets.
Okay.
Higher percentage of healthcare workers in the area and manufacturing. And
Okay.
then the last one, state gun score.
Okay.
So Kansas City was #1 of Realtor.com to best places to survive a nuclear
Okay.
apocalypse.
Well, I'm coming to your house then. Is what's gonna happen.
I know. You're coming to our basement.
coming to your
Too
house.
bad it's not built yet. It's half built.
Well,
So right now it's not a good place to be
well,
because there's no roof.
we just need them to not drop the bomb for another 6 months, and we'll be fine.
Yep, exactly. And they were good.
You
So
said
I just liked looking at the different locations. I thought that was very
it is.
interesting.
It is interesting. You did say though something that I found interesting in that whole thing is that you thought about building a panic room. What?
Yeah,
Why? One, why? Two,
yeah.
what does it consist of? Because see, I think of, and I know you're not going to know this. I think of a panic room as the. Have you ever seen the movie The Panic Room? Probably not.
Uh-uh.
Yeah. Okay. Um, there was a movie called The Panic Room years ago that had a young Kristen Stewart in it, and I think it's Kristen Stewart. Anyway, it's about a mom and a daughter who move into this house that has a panic room, and
Hmm.
a group of people come to try to rob the house.
Hmm.
And there's this whole thing with the panic room because it's like a sealed off like specialized
Yeah.
room for an incident like that, and it's
Hmm.
I think it's used as more for that instead of probably what it would be technically used for, is like a disaster or an
Yeah,
emergency
exactly.
shelter. But I'm guessing that's what you guys are thinking of, as like tornado shelter or something like that, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly,
Okay.
because we're such in a tornado. The outskirts of Kansas City, kind of where we're building, has a higher percentage of tornadoes than like other parts of Kansas City. So
Makes
there's a
sense.
lot of people around there that have, and it's just like a steel. We weren't thinking like a concrete bunker. It was going to be like in our basement
Yeah.
that we have an unfinished part that is concrete basement. And we were going to do a steel like safe room almost
Oh,
for tornadoes.
my
Yeah.
my grandpa had a steel safe room in his garage that's supposed to be a tornado bunker. I mean, he doesn't live in the
Yeah.
house anymore, but basically they just
Hmm.
bring it in, set it down, and bolt it down, and that's it. Now, my
Exactly.
my
Yeah.
dad builds homes and has built custom homes and spec homes for years, and
Hmm.
he has built in houses before with a basement. He's built like safe rooms under the front porch. So,
Hmm.
because you've already got the basement that basically goes to that point, you just hollow out under the front porch, and then it's concrete on
Yeah.
all four sides. You put in a steel door, and there's no way that anything, even if a tornado goes right over your house, there's really no way you're going to be in any
Yeah.
danger
Yeah. You just
because
have to worry about get the emergency personnel getting you out of there. Yeah.
yeah. So, and
Hmm.
that's more of the thing. So that I can
Hmm.
see. I don't
Yeah.
when I hear panic room though, I don't think of
Yeah.
like emergency like disaster bunker. I think of
Yeah.
like
I mean, granted, like we're gonna have security cameras all around because we'll be kind of in the middle of nowhere with not a lot of neighbors around. So, like if I saw someone like patrolling the property on our security cameras, oh, I guarantee if we had this, I would go down there with the dogs, lock myself in, and then call the cops.
yeah.
So, but that I wouldn't foresee that as much as I would foresee a tornado.
Yeah. No, I just think of something entirely different when I hear panic room. It
I
just
know.
makes me think of something entirely
I
different.
think of
So,
like a rich elderly woman afraid of like her house being
yeah.
broken into
That's
when I
that's
hear
exact
panic room.
that's kind of what I think of too.
Which
So,
I mean I don't blame them. But yeah, it would probably be more like natural disaster
yeah.
room.
That makes more sense. Um
Yeah.
okay. I think is
Hmm.
that it? Are we done? Are we going to facts? What's next? Did you have a game? I
No,
thought you said you had a
so
game or something.
I do have
Okay.
a game, but really quick, I thought this was really funny. National Geographic Kids
No.
has a 7 steps to survive an apocalypse. And I thought this was funny because, like, I guess unless maybe they watched Walking Dead or something, why would a kid care? But the first step is know your survival skills. And then it says you can make a simple gas fire stove out of tin cans. And then it has like a how to. I'm like, what kid reading National Geographic is going to be like, oh, yes, I really need to learn how to make a gas fire stove. Anyways, I just think this whole article is funny. The next one is choose a good hideout. Um, and then the third one is pack a survival kit. Imagine you've got a 4-minute warning to get out. Grab some water and cans of food. And I'm like, kids are not going to be this level-headed.
No.
Um,
Yeah.
and then it goes on to give a couple other, things like that. Gather your friends, have a useful gang. Do you know who you'd like to take with you in an apocalypse? Do you know a car mechanic? It literally says, do you know someone who's good at fixing things like a car mechanic? And I'm like, kids? But then this last one got me. This is funny. Um, the last thing it says, what if it's a zombie apocalypse? One of the safest locations during a zombie apocalypse would be a prison. And I'm like, okay, you're telling kids that if they're scared of something and there's like something going on, to go to a
Go to
prison
prison.
where there's probably prisoners there. I just think all this whole article was really funny. I mean, some of it was like actually useful information, but
Why do
um
they? Is it because of the walls, like keeping people out in, so they think that it could also keep
because this
zombies
was like
out?
yes, yeah, this was zombie apocalypse specifically, and they said exactly that. They're good at people keeping in and out. So
Okay.
you could like lock yourself in and it's basically like an impenetrable fortress. But I'm like, please don't tell kids to walk into a prison.
Yeah, don't tell kids to walk into a prison. Um,
I mean, I know you have to get through security and
yeah, but
guards and but still.
but still,
I just thought this article was so funny.
let's not tell kids to walk into a prison. Um,
Yeah.
anyway, that's yeah.
But that's it. Yeah, so you want to play a game?
Sure, let's go for it.
Um, I have a Would You Rather Apocalypse Edition.
Okay.
Um, so I guess this first one, you kind of already asked me, like, would you drive into the nuclear bomb or would you wait it out? So this is, would you rather be killed, but it's a little different. Would you rather be killed immediately at the beginning of the apocalypse, or have to live through it? Like there's a chance of survival. So it's not like your
If
scenario
I
where there was no
if
hope.
I have a chance of survival, then I'll try to live through it.
Okay,
But
that's what I would say
my
too.
my thing with the driving into the bomb is like I don't really have a chance of survival. It's
Yeah.
it's how long is it gonna take me to die more than anything.
Yeah,
So
basically.
if I'm gonna die either way, I want it to be as fast as possible. But
Yeah.
if I have a chance to survive, I'm gonna try to survive in all
Yeah,
way, shape,
that's
or
a very
form.
logical Kevin answer.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I am Nicole the emotional, and I'm like, no, I want to die with my dog. But yeah, okay. So this is about zombie apocalypse. Would you rather be turned into a zombie or watch everyone you love get turned into a zombie? That's a hard one.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it depends on how you look at it. Am I going to know I'm turned into a zombie? Like, there's a lot of questions that I would have with that.
Hmm.
Um,
What's your like gut instinct with no analysis?
my my gut instinct is watch the people I love be turned into zombies. And there's a theory, and
Really?
there's an
Okay.
idea
I want
behind
to know
this.
why.
So I have the same idea of death, and this is going to get really dark really fast. I'm sure. I have the thought process that I, if I have loved ones who care about me, I don't. It sounds selfish that you would want them to die first, but I don't necessarily want that because I don't want. If I do have someone who loves me that much, I don't want them to have to go
Hmm.
through the I would rather suffer the burden of dealing with the loss than have them have to deal with
Hmm.
that. And that's kind of what I'm thinking in this
I get that. Yeah.
object as well. I know it sounds maybe backwards to people. I don't
No,
know.
I get it.
But
My first gut instinct was, have me turn so they don't have to because um I feel like they would when it comes down to it, if I turn into a zombie, they could kill me. But my first gut instinct was, well, I'd rather go through the pain than them.
yeah.
But I see your way of thinking too.
I
So
mean, either one
um
is it's the way you look at it, but that's the way that
yeah.
I look at it
Ideal
is that
situation,
way.
we just
Yeah.
all die and it's
Yeah,
fine.
it's just
But
done. Yeah.
um okay, would you rather escape the end of the world by living underground forever or in space forever?
But I'm going to escape. I'm going to survive, right?
Yeah, either way you're going to survive, but would you rather survive underground or in space?
Well, the view's better from space.
Hmm.
But I think underground would be more practical and easier to do. So I'm probably going to say underground.
Yeah, I say for practicality, underground, but if we had the technology and everything was different than we do right
Yeah.
now,
Space would
I
be
would say
interesting.
space
Yeah.
because then you could explore and just find a new planet
Yeah. I mean,
if you had the
theoretically,
technology.
hopefully, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I agree, underground practically.
Yeah.
Okay, two more. Would you rather endure a natural disaster apocalypse or one that was started by humans?
Uh, that's a. I mean, I don't really want to endure either one.
Mhm. I know.
But that's not the
That was
rule.
my
That's the
first
rule.
thought
That's
too.
against the rules. So, um, I mean, I don't know that it really matters either. Like, they're both apocalypse.
That was my first thing too. Like they're both apocalypses. I
Yeah. So
don't think I'd really care
who
either
really
way.
cares either way? Um,
I'd probably be more annoyed with the human one, so I guess I would
yeah.
want to live out my
Probably
life
probably like the
through a natural
probably a natural
disaster, but
disaster. Yeah, because it's.
mhm.
I mean, with the human one, I'd be like, well, why did this? I'd be annoyed. Like, what? Well, what the hell were
Yeah.
you doing? Why did you do this? What makes you think that this was a good idea?
Hmm.
And if you did do this, why didn't you come up with a? Why didn't you come up with a cure? Like, why
Yeah,
didn't you come up with a way
exactly.
to fix this before we decided to make it happen? Like, you know,
Yeah, I agree. I think natural disaster would
that
just make
goes
me less annoyed.
that goes back to the kind of makes me think of you've seen Jurassic Park, right? Please tell me you've seen Jurassic Park.
Yes, I've
Okay.
seen Jurassic Park. It's one of my favorites.
Okay, it's a great movie. Um, there's a line in it where Jeff Goldblum's character, Dr. Ian Malcolm, says that this his Hammond scientists were so enamored by um, if they could
They
bring back the
didn't,
dinosaurs, they didn't think about if they should,
if
and
they should. Yeah, I like that
that's what it
quote
makes me
too.
think of. It's a great
Yeah,
quote.
yeah. Okay, last one.
I know I butchered it. It's not actually how he says it, but it's still the idea
Oh,
is a good
it's
quote.
the gist.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good quote. Okay, last would you rather? Would you rather know the date of the end of the world or know its cause?
Mm.
I know my answer.
Cause.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know that
Why?
I don't know that I want to know when it's going to happen. I'd rather it be sudden.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather it be all of a sudden. And
Okay.
I know you say that cause is, I mean, it's obviously the end of the world, so I can't stop it. But my thought is well, if I know
Mm-hmm.
the cause, then maybe I can work to not like watch out for that
Yeah.
or work to stop it. But I know that's not really necessarily how things work. But
I would say date because if I know the cause but not the date, I'm going to be anxiously looking for the cause all over.
yeah,
But if I know the date,
you're gonna see it in places. Yeah,
yeah, you're going to see it in everything. But if I know the date,
you're just
even
like
if it's like the world is ending next week, I am a planner
you know
and
it's
I have
done.
my to-do
Yeah,
list, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna quit my job and we're gonna do these to-do lists as a family, and we're gonna have fun and make the most of this week because I know when it's ending,
that makes sense.
and this is, the time we have to do our bucket list,
Okay.
basically.
That makes sense. I get both sides of
Yeah.
that one because it's a lot of
Hmm.
these questions. The would you rather ones are kind of difficult because it's like, well,
Yeah,
you don't
I
actually
see
want
both sides.
you don't
I
actually
always
want
just
either
go by
one of
like
them.
my gut
Yeah,
says I would rather know the date than the cause
that
because
makes
I
sense.
know myself and my anxiety. I would see the cause every single day in
Yeah,
something.
and I think a lot
Yeah,
of people would. They'd be like, oh, that's it. That's
for
what it
sure.
is. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense because if you know the date, it's just my only concern about knowing the date is like, okay, well now I know the date, and now I'm just going to be nervous until we get to that date, and then
Yeah.
it's all over.
I'm
But
kind of to a point that I don't care. I'm just like, okay, we just have a faster timeline of when we have to do our
yeah,
bucket.
that works.
Because theoretically you could die any day, but
This is
anyways.
true, and you wouldn't know what date it was, so it wouldn't.
Yeah, that gives me more anxiety than like knowing the date.
Okay, time for facts. Nick, I went first last week,
Okay.
so we'll let you go first this week.
Okay. So in after civilization collapses, you could and should use your mobile phone still because you can use GPS for up to a couple months after because the satellite signals would most likely still work.
Hmm.
So good news for people like me who can't get down the street without a GPS.
Directionally challenged.
Might still work. Yeah, might still work in the apocalypse.
I mean, depending on what the apocalypse is, it may. I mean, if the power doesn't go out, then you may still have that
Yeah.
working anyway, depending on what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But mine isn't. It's apocalypse adjacent. So there have been um, five mass extinctions in in the history of the world.
Okay.
Um, I'm not going to try to pronounce these because I don't know how. But there's been five mass extinctions. Just know that one of the ones was the one that killed out the dinosaurs, which was a
Mm-hmm.
meteor that crashed into Earth, a large meteor that crashed into Earth. Now, scientists in the 80s, or research from the 80s, has theorized that we are currently under a mass extinction event. And
Mm.
they have actually given it a name. It's called the
Oh.
Holocene extinction, I think is how you pronounce it. They say that since the 1900s, and this is it's caused by humans in the Industrial Revolution and things like that. So
Gotcha.
since
Yeah.
is what they argue. Since the 1900s, or since 1900, extinctions have occurred at 1,000 times the rate of the background level.
Hmm.
So, on a regular basis, there are a lot of plants, animals, and other species that are going extinct.
Yeah.
And they said in the time that let's see here. Yeah. So since 1500, there's been at least since 1500, it says if humans had never existed, it would have taken 18,000 years for the same amount of
Wow.
species to go extinct. So in the last 520 years,
Mm-hmm.
if humans would have never existed, they argue that it would have taken 18,000 years for the same number of animals and plant life and
That's
things to go
wild.
extinct, which is crazy to think about. I
That is
remember,
crazy and disappointing.
yeah, I remember we went to a museum one time that had an exhibit on this, and it might have been, I don't remember, I feel like it might have been the whatever the history museum is in Chicago that had like a
Mm-hmm.
counter that was counting how many animals or
Oh,
species
interesting.
had gone extinct within the last like few years, and it just kept ticking up. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember where that was at, but I remember seeing something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that's fun. It's not
Yeah.
actually an apocalypse, but it's apocalypse adjacent.
Mm-hmm.
Extinction's never a good thing. That's kind of what happens when you have an apocalypse. So,
Yeah.
yeah. But I think that's, unless you have something else, Nick, I think that's
No,
about it for
that's
this
it.
week. Yeah. Fun
Happy
times, guys.
apocalypse.
Yeah, happy apocalypse. Happy apocalypsing. Um,
Yeah.
good luck out there if it happens. Um, but yeah, until then, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and I think that's about it for us this week. We'll talk to you guys next week.
Mm-hmm. Bye.